Hi, I'm back for a third time now. I have filmed this video in the most chaotic way. I basically just decided I wanted to do, for my 3 years, a video about the timeline of my road to addiction and back to recovery. I decided I was gonna do it and I started filming. As I've been editing it, I've realized I've forgotten parts, so I keep just having to pop back in and add more to the video. I've cut a lot of this out because the point of the video is supposed to be how I went from not even having drugs on my radar, having nothing to do with them, to heroin addiction within a matter of about a year. But the problem is, the reason I got to that place was because of the relationship I was in. And for time's sake, and just because the purpose of this video is supposed to be just a timeline of events, I leave a lot of the information out. I don't go into detail about the way this relationship was affecting me psychologically every day and all the little intricate parts of it that slowly began to change the way I perceived myself and life around me. Because of that, it kind of seems to diminish everything down to, oh, me and my partner had an argument and it made me sad, so then I used. Like, it was so much deeper than that. I do have videos on my channel that discuss it in detail, but they are highly emotional videos that I will not be rewatching. But if you are unaware of the story and would like to hear about it more in detail, there are videos on my channel that do that. For the sake of time and for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to go into detail about all that. This is just about the timeline of things and how my drug addiction progressed. Okay, I sure hope that... Hi. I should say hi first. Hi. I really hope that fan isn't too loud and that when I go to edit this, it's not going to be unbearable. I really hope that fan isn't too loud and that when I go to edit this, it's not going to be unbearable. I do have my laptop here with me because we're doing something a little different today. I recently, on June 4th, so nearly a month ago now, probably over a month ago by the time I post this, but I hit 3 years sober, which is super cool, super fun, all good vibes here, but it just really had me thinking. It got me reflecting on everything up until this point, like everything that led me to being in this position to begin with. I've definitely told my story over the years in many different places. I've talked about it all over the place. But what's different about today is I'm going to go through my videos and talk about what was kind of going on at that time in my life when I wasn't filming, and talking about how it all fell apart and how it all came back together. So yeah, I probably will be filming this video in multiple segments. I expect it to be a little taxing on me mentally, but we'll see. I did end up doing multiple days. If you see me pop up in between other me, it's just to add more context. So I actually remember when my very last video I posted was before I got in contact with my ex. At the time, he wasn't my ex. We're gonna call him that guy. I vividly remember the last video I posted before I ever started speaking with that guy. It was this video. Is this what cycling really I'm getting an ad. Like? Non-skippable ad. Nice. I mean, good for me, but also no BS. Hurry up. That's right. 2 non-skippable ads. Again, good for me, but... Taylor, why? Hi. This was the last video I posted before things got a little weird. I was treating ick in my fish tank, and at this point, no signs of what was to come at all. And this was posted October 8th of 2017. It was literally like days after this when everything started to like go downhill. Then I posted this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, I got some pumpkins. Well, I have some pumpkins. I got this swoopy hourglass, and we've got real spiders.
Just kidding. That's not a real spider. This one is. I remember that so well. So after I posted this video, I updated my profile picture on Twitter to a picture of me with Celia. No, a picture of me with Cersei, my tarantula. This is on October 14th. Posted a picture of it as my profile picture. Started tweeting things. There was something I tweeted that I guess that guy also happened to tweet. Very similar sentence within the same day. Someone tagged me in it, was like, hey, you guys know each other? You're tweeting the same thing. And I recognized the other user as a person I grew up listening to religiously with music. So was a big fan. And so when he replied, I replied. We went back and forth Then we followed each other because of that, DM'd each other a few times. He got my number, and I remember thinking I was due to go back to California in a few weeks, and he was also going to California in a few weeks. And I remember thinking, oh my god, it'd be so cool. When I go there, I can meet up with him to get a picture together. I would love to have that after growing up and listening to him for so long. It'd be so cool to have a picture together. So that was my goal. But then as we started talking more, he seemed so much more into me than I thought he was going to be. I thought it was going to be a friend thing because he was in his mid-30s and I had just turned 20. But instead of finding it creepy or weird, I just thought, oh, I got lucky that this musician I really like is somehow interested in me. I fell for the whole, oh, you're so mature for your age stuff. So went to go meet him in LA. Still didn't think it would go anywhere because still a part of me was like, he's a guy in a band. He's probably saying this to like a bunch of other women. I was about to say girls, but little slip of the tongue there. I figured it most likely wouldn't go anywhere. So while I was in California visiting, I had a new plushie come out, a cheese plushie, and I needed to advertise it, so I had to throw a quick video out there while I was there. That's this one. These ads are gonna get annoying. Oh, my poor Nemo. He got so scared by the noise. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, baby. He's calming down a little bit. Let's skip that part. I think it's still going here. It's still going.
Posting videos this last week. People keep saying, can you please upload something? Please, 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 please. I'm out of town. My animals are not with me. I got a cool new tattoo. Not this. That's my lipstick. But this. Thank you to Romeo for always coming through. He's done all my tattoos. Love you, Romeo. You're awesome.
No, that aged badly. If you're in the tattoo community, you know. If you don't know, he turned out to be a weirdo. We'll just say that.
He has little sparkly eyes, and he got his little quote on the bottom. Yeah, let me guys know.
That's the only thing I recorded while I was in California. We didn't have any like concrete plans on what was gonna happen when we met up. We just knew we were gonna meet up. But we basically were never apart again. For, I think the longest was a couple days, and that's it. That was November 19th. On November 19th, I did not have an apartment. I had no solid plan of moving. I just knew I needed to move. Basically, the choices I was making was causing a lot of turmoil in my family. If I was gonna keep talking to him, I basically needed to move out. And I wanted to move out anyway, so I just took that opportunity and was like, okay, I'll go do that. Whatever the case, I moved out, and by November 30th, I have my own place.
Yeah, today I got 2 of them, and they're only like 4 or 5 weeks old. The box had 2 baby kittens in it, and
oh my god, I could hear them. By November 30th, I am fully in this house. Like, I'm getting cats, and I'm already really establishing myself in that place.
Floor of my unfurnished apartment. This is actually insane. First night that I got here, it kind of hit me a little bit. Once everyone left and all the people that were helping me move, you know, said goodbye for the night and they locked the door and I was here alone, I like started to cry. This is something I've wanted for so long. Finally happened for me is insane. It's everything.
I lived by myself for 12 hours. So he moved in the next morning. Didn't think he was moving in. Thought he was coming to help me unpack, but he just stayed. So by November 30th, I was making videos in my new apartment, and it's so weird because I only got like a solid maybe 2 weeks with that guy being sober, but looking back it felt longer for some reason. By closer to Christmas, he relapsed, and it was the scariest shit ever. Let me just say, I've talked about it before, but I don't think doing drugs makes you a bad person, but there is something demonic about what happened to that guy when he used drugs. It was unreal. Like, the literal devil came out of him. It was terrifying. With opiates, I would expect someone to get like sleepy and maybe not care as much about what happened, to be a little out of it and more mellow. He turned it up to 1,000,000. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced since dealing with addiction. I've never met anyone else that reacts that way to drugs. So it was terrifying. He would tell me it wasn't opiates though. He would say it'd be like a Xanax or whatever, and I didn't have the knowledge to really argue about it. The only drug I had ever tried was a couple weeks before I met him. I tried
Coca-Cola
once, and I tried just enough to put on my gums, like barely anything. But I had told him about that. The next time he went to Relapse, I went to go get my nails done, and when I came back home from getting my nails done, there was a stranger in my house, and it was a drug dealer, which at the time was absolutely insane to me. He was giving that guy what he wanted, drug-wise, and my ex pulls me into the corner corner and is like, listen, it's not gonna be like last time. I'm not gonna be crazy like that. But he also brought Coca-Cola, so you can try it and maybe you can have fun too while I'm using. And at this point, my mentality had been, I'm like a loser kid who had never experienced anything. And in this relationship, I seemed like the worried little nagging girlfriend to the musician boyfriend that likes to have fun and party. I had nothing to relate to him about at all. I came to the conclusion in my brain that like if I was willing to do this, that he would see that like I'm on his level, that we are alike, and maybe he would include me in things more instead of leaving and not including me and just sneaking off and lying. I was like, maybe this is a compromise where he can be honest with me if I also partake. So I started doing that. I also agreed to try Vicodin once, and I actually filmed that day, I think. So I'm pretty sure this was the first time I used Vicodin. I could be off by a few days, but I really think it was this day.
I had a really bad cold and like an ear infection and all this fun stuff.
I'm not making that up though. I'm not sounding weird because of the drugs. I genuinely had a cold and an ear infection and all that. The amount that I took that day, it was just so mildly relaxing is the only side effect I had. Like I didn't really feel anything crazy, so I wasn't out of it or anything like that.
So this is
oh my god, I'm gonna cry. You won't see me tearing up about anything else. I'm crying. You won't see me tear up about anything else in this video, but my cat, he got me through everything. He was the best. He was so tiny, and even back then when he was that tiny, when I was having like anxiety attacks or I was in a bad argument with my ex, he would come and sit on top of me and it looked like he was trying to protect me, and it was just, he's so sweet. He's so sweet. Okay, besides that one video where I'm pretty sure I took Vicodin that same day, other than that, until I used I really don't think I ever filmed while I was under the influence of a substance. Throughout this whole time, my main issue became Coca-Cola. It wasn't even stemming from a physical addiction, it was just my coping mechanism when my ex would use. So basically, I got extremely heavy into Coca-Cola use like right away. I was doing at least an 8-ball a day, if not more. I got very heavy into it very quick. He was more normal on Vicodin versus the harder opiates where he acted absolutely insane. He was a little more normal with Vicodin, but I overdosed like the second time I ever did it. I was overdosing on the floor and I'd pass out and I'd wake up and vomit, and I was sweating and shaking and passing back in and out of consciousness, had a horrible fever, couldn't stop vomiting, and he used more and more and more of it while I was just laying there, and he started to become unbearable. Instead of being there for me, he was running around and screaming and stuff. So I asked him if he could stop and just be with me quietly, and he said basically, F you, you're not overdosing because you're not dead, and that he will go hang out in the hot tub while I sorted my stuff out. So I laid there ODing while he was like in the hot tub and posting online about how happy and sober he is. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it made me feel like absolute garbage. I started using more and more and more, not opiates because I got so scared from the Vicodin experience that I never used it again, but with Coca-Cola. I had a lot of chronic pain issues, and I was always lethargic, I was always tired, I could never get stuff done. I found that using Coca-Cola made me feel more invincible, and like I could get stuff done, and I could detach from everything going on, and it made me mentally feel like I'm still connected to him in some way because I'm not afraid to do drugs either. And I took it overboard. It became some kind of thing to prove to myself that I could handle anything. So I was using so much that people quit that were on tour with him because they didn't want to see me die. Things got a little extreme. That's where things started to go. And at the same time as all of this, I hit 1 million subscribers. So that's cool. At the same time, my personal life was imploding. My YouTube was exploding. I was getting followers and I was making money and I was able to do all these things that I loved, but at the same time I had this huge conflict I was dealing with. So any negative attention that I was getting, which always comes when there's positive attention, there's negative too. Any negative attention I got, oh my god, it wreaked havoc on my brain, because while I was also living with someone who treated me in that same way, I had what felt to me like the entire internet telling me how disgusting and horrible I am. So I couldn't really see things rationally at that time. I couldn't really see the positivity and the love that I actually did have from so many people. I was having insecurities coming at me from every angle at that time. And that definitely made the spiraling worse. I felt like the whole world was telling me that I was awful. So I was not doing too hot. I kept trying to straighten things out. I didn't like where things were heading. I didn't like the drug stuff really. I didn't like any of it. So I would get sober. I would stop using. Basically any time that he was sober. That was just my compromise to have him want me in his life at all. Because at that point, again, my mental health was so bad that I couldn't even debate leaving. I would try. I would throw out the idea. I would say, like, you need to go somewhere else. I can't have you here. It would always lead to him coming back. He would get down on his knees and hold my legs and cry. Like, I was not strong enough to turn that kind of stuff down, because every time I got ready to leave, every time it was too much, then he'd get sober and he'd be my best friend and it'd be great. So then I'd be like, okay, you know what? Addiction sucks and we got through it together. Now he's himself again. And he always stayed sober just long enough for me to get comfortable and just long enough to make it too hard to leave when he relapsed. So, new year, 2018.
Hi guys, what's up?
New year, trying to focus on doing what I love. I remembered that I was feeling so empty and unhappy at that point that I was like, I just need to dive really deep into what makes me happy. And what makes me happy is working with my animals. My friend saw that I was going through a hard time and she was going through a hard time. So we're like, you know what would be a fun project for the both of us? Let's get a reptile that we can raise together. And so we went and we got the monitor that I was in such a rush to get that I ended up referring to it as the wrong species initially, and that really made me take a step back and be like, I don't want this to turn into something that it wasn't supposed to be. These animals, I love them, and it makes me so happy to immerse myself in taking care of them and working with them and bonding with them in the ways that I can and all of that, but I can't let it get to a place where I feel unhappy, so I'm getting an animal to make me feel better. And that was a wake-up call for that, because I never ever wanted it to turn into that. I definitely wish I could have talked about that better when that happened, because there was just so much going on that I couldn't even articulate my feelings properly. After that, I stayed sober for a while, trying to just figure my stuff out. He would have relapses and I would not partake. Okay, so then on April 26th, 2018, or somewhere around that date, I had to go to Playlist Live, which it didn't turn out too great. Then we get back home. He still continues to deal with on and off relapses. By around June 29th, I found out that some of the people in the pet group that I was with, like the pet YouTubers, that some of the people were actually partaking in that forum that was constantly updating about me in a negative light, and that they were on there personally talking about how much they hated me. And that really, really hurt, because that friend group was like my escape at the time. I would go on video calls with them so many nights, and we'd stay on video calls for so long. It just meant a lot to me to have those people, and it was a really nice escape from how isolated I had become. It kind of just reiterated to me that even the people closest to me don't like me really and can't stand me. Then after that, things get better again. We met up with my family for the first time since I got with him. I actually got to go to the aquarium with my mom and my little brother, and he went too, and it was kind of just reiterating that, like, things don't have to be falling apart. Things can get better. I just know things fell back apart after that, and it just kept flip-flopping. By July, I started using again. I remember becoming so numb to it all that I would just walk through the airport and walk through the scanner with the drugs in my pocket and not even know they were in there. And somehow I got let through. I'm so lucky to have a clean record because that was crazy. Then got sober again, got some time away. I got to do Pet Fest, which was so fun. I was sober during all of that. So fun to do. Then things were good for a little bit. I had some other pet YouTubers come visit me. We got to make silly videos. It was fun. He was being chill. Everything was fine. But I did not know how close I was to disaster at this point. But I think that's what makes it even worse, is that after Pet Fest, all the way up until now, things were good, and it was making me think, like, we're through this, we're good now. He was just with me and having fun, and it was great. Then Cheese died, and who knew that my fish dying would be so close to the beginning of the end of everything. Cheese died, and then I posted a video shortly after that because it was an ad that I had to post. I was obligated to post it at this time. So I posted it, and then I fell off the face of the planet. This is the video.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be partnering with Google Photos for the holidays, for always helping me take care of my animals when I'm away.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even posted this if it wasn't necessary. I would have just disappeared after the video before this, but I had to post this because of the ad. But right around the time this was posted, maybe like 10 days before it was posted, I think. It might be a little off, but I know it was around Thanksgiving. That's the first time I did it. Alright, I had to stop filming, but now I'm gonna take over for me. Anyway, where'd we leave off? I'm sure somewhere super fun. I think it's important to note that up until now, every relapse has been with pills, except one single time he smoked. Other than that, it's all been with pills, and none of it has been intravenous. It's all been swallowing pills or smoking. When we first got together, he made a couple of promises to me. He would never intentionally hurt me, he would never cheat on me, and he would never ever in his life inject ever again, and that if he did that, his life would be over, so it'll never happen again because he can't survive that. So that's the 3 promises he made to me. By this point, he had cheated on me, not just cheated on me, but said the nastiest things that you could possibly say about a person, about me, to other people and other women. And it wasn't even like sexual stuff, it was just degrading for no reason. Like telling a friend that they could run over me and kill me and he wouldn't care and he'd still be their friend. It's just such unnecessary stuff. So in my mind, those are the first 2 promises gone. The only thing I was hanging on to in the idea that we could get better and fix this and get to a better place together and be happy together was, as long as that 3rd thing doesn't happen, that there is still something redeemable in all of this. As long as he does not inject him asking me to use, knowing how he felt about heroin, it really just made me feel like garbage. So I think that contributed to it, because I tried to go against the idea and he pushed back, and eventually my brain just went quiet and I was just like, okay, whatever. So I did for the first time, and it made me very, very, very sick. By the time this was out, December 10th, 2018, I'd already done it. This was filmed before I did it, but I think it was literally like a week before, and I had no idea that my life was about to turn into that. And then by the time it was posted, I had already done it. This part is a little blurry to me now. Like, I don't really remember exactly how it played out, but I know that the next day I wanted off. It made me too sick. I didn't want to do it. There was some days where we were sober and some days we weren't. I don't remember how I got stuck in that cycle really, but I did. And I started with pills. I started with moved up to Dilaudid. After that, I was able to go back to not get sick from it anymore. I remember at that point still being like adamant about I cannot do and that I was scared to and all this stuff, but buying all of the Dilaudid and all of that was not cheap or easy to find, so that's why I ultimately agreed to try again, and then it just never stopped. That was December 8th, and I disappear and I don't come back until I'm in a new house on April 13th, 2019. When the new year came around, my apartment got taken over by some new management, and the new management wanted wanted nothing to do with all of the people that were constantly calling and emailing my apartments, pretending to be neighbors and leaving false complaints and just harassing the front desk for whatever reason. It was just people online that got my address. They didn't want anything to do with it. They called me down to the lobby and they told me I had until I think the end of March to leave. At this point, I was deep into using and felt horrible and didn't even know what I was doing with my life anymore, so I decided I needed a pick-me-up, and what better way to pick myself up and start fresh than getting a dream house in my dream neighborhood. We made all these promises that by the time we get to the new house, we're gonna be sober, we're not gonna use anymore, it's gonna start fresh. It didn't happen. The using while we were together as a couple, the using was at its worst at this house. It did not get better. He ended up buying fentanyl and telling me that it's not the dangerous kind of fentanyl, because there's a couple kinds of fentanyl. So he was like, oh, this isn't the dangerous kind, when really I guess there are more dangerous kinds, but I'm pretty sure all fentanyl isn't great to use if it's not medically necessary. I was very scared by that, and that was the first time I'd been scared of a drug since the thing, but I started using it. These were the only videos I filmed while using throughout ever. These are my only videos I ever posted while using.
A few of them. It goes 4 rows back, and there's a lot of them. And just so you know, I'm not kidding. They go 4 rows back. Anyway, let's continue the tour.
I don't know what's more embarrassing about that clip, the fact that I'm on fentanyl or the fact that I have 4 rows deep of Funko Pops. Funko Pops and fentanyl, like, what a combo.
Okay, so this is my side of the bathroom. Makeup and...
I wonder if I show his side here.
We are now in my shower, and if we look up, it has a skylight. So my shower...
It was a really cool house. Way too many windows though. I think there's like 100 windows in total in that house. It was so hot.
The skylight, which is really
way
cool.
too many
and
windows.
My clothes, which will probably take 20 years to act.
Notice how when I'm filming this, I'm always panning over his side of the bathroom. We had just moved in. It already looked horrible. I don't even know if I could show the pictures on YouTube. I don't think they're allowed. I vividly remember this transition here where I go to film upstairs. I had just used. Like, downstairs, used, walked upstairs, filmed. So my voice here is worse than ever.
I wish that I had more footage of how this looked before I started filling it up, but...
Filling it up.
Started filling it up.
My voice just sounds a little weird. By the way, I thought my voice sounded completely normal. Like, 1000% normal.
So, I have some things set up, some things not set up. I have a lot happening right now. My main plan, oh my god, an animal on the loose. Now that you're out, what are you going to do?
A what on the loose?
My main plan, oh my god, an animal on the loose. Now that you're out, what are you going to do? Not very vicious. Ew, don't eat that. What are you eating? Release, release, release.
No comment. That post was April 19th, and then I was doing so bad that I could not even shower anymore, which was a new low for me, but I stopped showering, which is funny because when this first happened and I got out and I started talking about recovery, I remember thinking like, oh my god, I was so bad that I didn't shower, and I had no idea it was gonna get so much worse. Yeah, at this point, do I even show myself in this? Not really. Oh yeah, at the very end I show myself.
To waste. I think that is how my axolotl Okay, so there is one thing I want to talk about that I don't necessarily, need to. I know there's gonna be people, but I really do like connecting to my audience. So I do want to share this information. I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I just noticed in pretty much every single video, there are viewers who say I sound different and that I constantly kind of sound a little weird, things like that.
I was being so I was being so real there. You do not understand. I wasn't talking and thinking in my head, I need to explain why I sound like I'm slurring my speech. I genuinely did not know I was doing that. I genuinely did not know. Since I started YouTube, my voice kind of changes a lot. I kind of start to mimic the inflections of like whoever I'm hanging around a lot. It's just something my brain does. So I had seen those comments before about my voice changing. So when I saw it again, I just figured it was another thing like that. I get out of breath easily. I genuinely did not know I sounded like that. Alright, okay girl. This was the last video I managed to post, April 27th. So we're still in the same month.
Hello. Yes, this is happening. I know it's a lot
I did not want to shower.
here, but he's definitely, nervous right now.
At least I sound not as bad.
Hey buddy, it's dead. Hey, it's dead, buddy. Really, Kronos? You have this whole thing to explore, and you are trying to climb back into the house. Kronos.
My voice still does sound weird. I miss him so much, by the way. I had to rehome him when I went to rehab. Yeah, this was the last video I posted, and by June 4th, I was in rehab. My best friend basically saw how bad it was getting. She came over to my house pretty much every day. She saw how bad it was getting. She was just like, I'm gonna figure this out for you. I ended up coming to a compromise with my friend where my ex would go stay with his dad and I would stay by myself because I had no means. I did not know how to get drugs. I could not do that by myself. She told me that that would be an okay plan where I could sober up on my own and he can go and sober up on his own. The plan was ultimately to break up with him, but I still couldn't really commit to it 100%, but we at least got ourselves separated from each other. I had no clue how sobering up worked. Going from months of IV use to sober, I've never done anything like that. So when I woke up, I felt a little sick and I figured, okay, I'm far enough in withdrawals to take a Suboxone. So I took a Suboxone, which if you still have opiates in your system, your body will react like you were Narcaned. It'll flush everything out right away. Being on doing that was to this day the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It was insane. It was insane. Like seizures, it was like 14 hours of hell. And even after that it was horrible too, but it was 15 hours of like I literally could not speak, I could not walk, I could not stand up. I was just on the ground like convulsing and very aware of every second that passed, and it was horrible. During that time, my best friend contacted my mom because I wasn't responding. She didn't know what was going on. So my mom showed up to my house and I had to be like, hey, I'm on drugs. So that was fun. She admitted me into rehab the next day. Then I was in rehab. My parents, we had a conversation while I was in rehab about basically I can't get back with my ex, or they can't be in my life at all. They cannot do this with me if I choose to go back to him. My mom, like, she can't take this basically. Obviously they can't force me, but if I do choose to go back to him, that they're not going to be in my life. I remember I still called him a couple times in rehab and he was so mean to me because I would call like 5 minutes late or something. He was awful. And I just remember thinking on the phone, or after arguing with my parents about it and everything and having a good week in rehab, when I got to call him for the first time, the fact that he was just so mean, it just like something clicked and I was like, I can't call him ever again. And I just hung up and that was it, and we were done. So then I come back from rehab and I just post on YouTube like, hey, what's up? Hey guys that are used to pet videos, how's a video about pet? How about that? So I did that. That's so crazy to me though, looking back, just seeing how fast everything fell apart. This is so insane. I know you guys at this point, at the very most, had only been watching for like 2 years. So you don't know me any better than anyone else on the internet, but it is so insane that all I wanted was to create a little fun channel about animals and somehow I got myself on edge. Like, it's just insane. The internet can do wonderful and terrible things. So yeah, I came out about this and
Welcome back to my abandoned channel. If you do not follow me on, probably should, just saying, unless you really don't want to know what's going on. While, but
the same shirt. I didn't plan that. That is crazy. I did not plan that. I talk about all of that here. I will say I don't want to rewatch these, but I had just got out of a rehab that, while I think it was an amazing rehab, like structurally it was beautiful. They offered amazing outdoor activities and great group sessions and everything. They also did a very religious kind of way of talking about recovery. Very adamant and very strict about certain certain things that I don't see as heavily enforced in like NA and AA groups. I came out of that assuming that I had something inherently wrong with me that destined me to be an addict, that it was inevitable, and I was trying to find all these connections like from my childhood of like, oh, that's a sign I'm gonna be an addict. So I know I kind of look into or talk about things that probably don't necessarily mean anything about if I was gonna be an addict or not. It's just what happened. There's a lot of things I still, of course, agree with. Like, it is my story about what happened, like I'm talking about now, but there are some things that I focus on a little bit that I wouldn't focus on anymore. So after that, I decide, hey, life is good now. It's August 25th, 2019. I am good to go.
Psychiatrist, and I'm very consumed in my recovery right now. I'm trying to take it as seriously as I possibly can, and because of that, I don't think it's the right time to have 30-something animals.
Yeah, so by this point, I was just like, you know what? I still at least mention that I'm dealing with recovery. But other than that, I'm back at my parents' house. I'm back posting videos about animals. It might as well be 2017. Nothing happened. Let's just start over. Basically, is where my mindset was. And it stayed that way until this video. I'm not gonna be watching this one at all. I have never rewatched it and I will not. But basically I got back in contact with him. He re-entered my life. I'm pretty sure I'm the one that reached out to him. We began talking again. I could not shake this feeling of like worthlessness because of everything that happened between me and him. And I just felt so disgusted about myself, and my self-esteem and everything, and my self-worth was just so rotten. And I thought maybe I would find answers by talking to him. I don't know. I was looking anywhere for answers. So of course I was like, if something good can come out of me and him, then maybe it's all worth it. So we started talking again. He made it sound like he still wanted to be with me and still wanted to marry me and all of this stuff. And come to find out, he was with someone else and they were expecting a baby. I didn't know any of this. I learned it all at once. I kind of had a meltdown. I started having all these revelations about like, it's always been this way. It's not just when he's on drugs. He's always manipulative. He's always lying. He's always doing all these things that I always wanted to excuse was him being an addict, but no, it's just who he is. All of that accumulated into me making this video. I don't regret it, but I don't ever want to watch it again. I mean, it's all true, but it's a little embarrassing to cry for an hour. Like, I won't watch this. But after posting that, I kind of disappear. And then I come back June 3rd, 2021. At first, I was just super depressed, just kind of existing and not posting videos and being depressed. Everything after this, I feel like I've never really talked about other than just I relapsed and that's it, but I never really went into detail about how it all happened. So basically, I made a Tinder profile hoping to meet some new people around town. I matched with someone on there that had in their description that they were in AA and NA. So I was like, oh, cool, a fellow sober buddy. So we started talking and they reiterated that they were sober, and I was telling them that I'm like new to all this and that I'm sober too. We were both sober from the same thing. He invited me out to talk about like if I ever just need a buddy to talk recovery talk with. So we started hanging out. I think it was like the third time we hung out. I thought it was a safe space and was talking about how I was craving using and that I don't know how I'm gonna keep doing this and that it's really scaring me that I'm craving using after all this time, because I was like 9 months sober and that was a long time for me because I had never done any of this before. So I was really worried that I was having cravings and all this stuff that now I know is totally normal. And I was ranting to him about it and he just replies by saying like, what if I told you I have some? And then he just goes over and pulls it out. And I'm just like, screw it. Okay. And I relapse. I get sober the next day, tell myself, can't do this, don't talk to that person for a week, spiral even more mentally, and then hit them back up and relapse and keep relapsing. He reached out to someone to buy drugs from them. He used my phone to do it, and so then I had their number. So then I just started contacting them directly for drugs, and this is the first time I ever had personal access to someone to buy from. So it was like the first time I was partaking in purchasing it and getting it. That just started started a whole thing where I was only hanging out with those people when it was time to pick up more drugs, and otherwise I was alone in my room just watching random TV, watching YouTube, but not talking to anyone, not texting anyone, not doing anything but existing in this little hole in my room, only ever seeing outside whenever it was time to pick up more drugs. And I always purposely tried to get as much as I could at each time so I didn't have to like seek more out the next 2 days. So I started acquiring more and more at once just so I could sit in my room longer. Things started spiraling really fast. I ended up getting really sick multiple times, had a few times where using didn't go well and I had a crazy weird reaction where I was like so sure I was dying, but obviously I wasn't. After about 4 months, I made the choice myself to go back into rehab, and I found the rehab myself and I admitted myself. I was still in this like delusion of like thinking my life would still just like snap back to normal, so I refused to go to rehab unless I found one that allowed phones and computers, because in my head I was like, I'm gonna need to work on videos and things like that, so I can't go anywhere that would take away a month of time that I could be working on videos. So I found a rehab that allowed my phone and my computer. But wow, I still didn't post videos. Not until June of 2021. So yeah, that didn't go too well. When I left that rehab, I feel like I relapsed almost immediately. I just kept going in circles of like getting a couple months sober and then relapsing, and a couple months sober and relapsing, and then a week sober and relapsing, and it was just non-stop. This was one of the times I was sober. I am so uncomfortable. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I know what everyone is thinking and I know what I need to address, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I know I missed yesterday's upload, and I know that yesterday was just, everyone was probably so confused.
Where's Taylor's daily upload? Why is it not here? Is she dead?
Where is she? I edited and filmed new little parts for it that I would like throw in at different areas to like touch that up and change one section or explain what I said in one little area. I couldn't get it right, and I was having a really hard time. After I relapsed, I got so deep into just this routine of like sitting in my bed and using and not talking to anyone. So when I tried to come back to the internet, I didn't know what I was doing and I had no idea who I was. So it was really hard to post anything because I didn't know what I liked anymore. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have a personality. It was really, really difficult to try to make content at that point. I started hanging out with one other person that was also dealing with addiction. Got ourselves sober together many times, but they also introduced me to, and that's when I deluded myself into thinking my problem in life wasn't it was that it made me sleepy. If I could just get things done, then I could deal with this addiction stuff later, but I could at least get back to life. So then I started using to try to keep me awake because it made me sleepy. So I started using, I think my worst week ever was Xanax and drinking all at the same time. I just started taking on this persona of like, I'm invincible, I could do whatever I want. It was like proving to myself that even though I was too weak in my mind to stay with my ex and get to the better days, and even though I was too weak all my life to like go to school and to do all the things I wanted to do as a kid, now I could do anything and nothing can hurt me. And that was kind of the mentality I took on. Instead of reacting to trauma by being overly fearful, I went the other way where I pretended I was invincible. Like nothing could scare me, nothing could hurt me, nothing frightened me. I could handle anything. So that's where I kept going, and that led me to getting sepsis multiple times, and I ended up so sick. I had to go to a wound care place to look at some of the wounds that I had from using, and they were so severe that they had a home nurse. I had to get surgery on some of them, and then I had to have a home nurse come every day to help me take care of them because there were so many, and I was so weak at that point that I couldn't be trusted to take care of myself. I remember every time stuff like that happened, like it would get to a point where doctors would tell me I could have lost my leg. Damn, this is gonna scare me enough to stop. And then of course it didn't, and I didn't stop. So after June 3rd, I don't remember when I relapsed, I just know I did. Then I have this video about my health after heroin addiction. I don't know if I relapsed before this video or after this video, but I did at some point. Happening, I do notice that a lot of people tend to worry about me when I continuously say that I can't upload. Also at this time, this is just an interesting tidbit because I think a lot of people think about drug addiction and think that it must cause you to be like super underweight. I do get to that phase from amphetamines, but when I was using opiates, it actually made me gain weight. It slows your whole body down, makes you swell up, you start retaining water. It doesn't necessarily always make you thin. I remember I got to my heaviest weight from heroin, but then as I started introducing into the mix, my body did a 150 and I weighed less than I did in high school at a certain point. After the June and August one, then there's this video in October of 2021 where I had been sober long enough that I was like, okay, I'm sober long enough that I can get back to YouTube. I need to get back into doing what I love. That's gonna help. I still don't know what exact months I was using and when I wasn't. I just know I was sober when I filmed videos. I know that at this point I was at my heaviest because of the heroin use. That's a beautiful freeze frame. And it was actually kind of aiding in my identity crisis. My self-esteem was horrible at this point. I just felt disgusting, and anytime I got sober, it was harder to just like embrace sobriety because I felt so disgusted about myself. So it would just continue the loop of, if I'm gonna feel disgusting no matter what, at least when I'm using, I can detach a little bit. If I'm gonna be gross no matter what, in my mind. It was just a very unhealthy mentality I had about myself. I was watching myself age multiple years, and in my brain I still felt like I was like 22. I was having a huge identity crisis, feeling like my life was just passing me by. It was so overwhelming to try to catch up with all the time lost every time I got sober. So I would just relapse again. I try to get back into doing things I really enjoy, working with my animals, but something wasn't working, something wasn't clicking. I still just felt nothing. It was terrifying. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't enjoy myself anymore. And I couldn't get back into it, and it just kept continuing this cycle where I just went back to drugs. I was thinking something had to be missing here. I got really confused looking at this timeline of things. I'm like, wait, am I saying things wrong? But no, I literally post on January 31st of 2022, and then I don't post again until December 1st of 2022. So yeah, the first few months of 2022 were awful. I kept trying to post things every once in a while, kept trying to wait for that spark to come back, but it just wasn't there. After this post here about my snake,
Happy New Year. Hi. 2022. 2021 even happened? I don't really know. All I really remember is 2021 coming to an end, thinking, thank God it's over. 2021 is going to be so much better. And then it was just more 2020. Take 2020 and stretch it out another year. And then it was over. It never got to that point where it was better, per se.
yeah, that basically sums it up. My sobriety just kept going in circles, and then after this video, it got to a point where it was just, my body was literally falling apart. It was just disgusting. I got sepsis twice, I went in the hospital, my skin was like falling off of me. It was disgusting. So that friend that I had made that I would occasionally hang out with when I was using, because they also used, so I didn't feel judged, I told them that I really wanted to get off this. I can't keep doing it. Same thing I've said a million times, but I wanted to try again. So after this, up until June, it was more of the same of just relapses and stuff. And then in June, on June 4th, it was just a random day, but that day we just both stopped and we both got off together. I did continue on and off the following weeks after that, sometimes using. In my brain, it was like, at least it's not and it's helping me get moving, whatever. I don't remember the day I stopped doing that, but it wasn't hard to stop because I didn't have a physical dependence on it because of how inconsistently I used it. It was just something that helped me have energy, but it was doing horrible things to my body, so I got scared out of using it basically a couple weeks after I got off. And yeah, I still kept trying to get back to YouTube. It still just kept not working though. I didn't know how long the sobriety was gonna stick. I didn't know if it was gonna stick, but by December, I post an update about how my depression is just still not getting any better, because it wasn't. I was still stuck in this mindset that I got in with my ex and the way that he had me view myself. It took me all of this time to start to try to get out of that mindset and to see myself differently and to rediscover who I was beyond just being his partner, because that's like the whole identity I took on ever since I started being with him. My whole identity kind of shifted. It took until long after this video to start seeing authentic parts of myself start to come alive again.
million times now, and I have said all that there is to say. I don't feel like there's any other little write-up that I could come up with that will explain what has been going on and why I'm back now that I haven't said already twice at least. At this point,
and you could still see in December how underweight I was from recovering from the use. Even though it had been like nearly 6 months at that point, I still was extremely underweight from the use. It did a number on my body. It took away a lot of my body. To this day, my body never went back to how it was before. So that was like a new whole identity thing that I had to deal with getting sober, is like I had a whole new body now that wasn't the one that I used to have. And on top of that, it felt like I time traveled mentally. It was all just a mess. And I keep resorting back to saying little things like, oh, it was just crazy. But for time's sake, it's really hard to go too much deeper into it other than just saying what happened and going on to the next thing. After this, I started trying to post content a little more often. A couple more months after that, I posted something February 20th, March 11th, May 19th, June 27th, June 9th. I started posting a little more. I get to December and I don't post anything again until July. Nothing really happened necessarily that had me stop posting. I was still trying to figure out who I was, dealing with all of these parts of my life that I was running away from. I was trying to actually face and get better and move on from things. But I mean, even to today, there is still plenty of things that I feel like I'm way behind on and that I should be over. And like, I'm just now starting to get over things that I thought I would have been over so many years ago. It's just taken so much time for my brain to process everything and to come back to reality after all of that. Even after just recording these first 2 parts, I'm now recording the last part. I fell asleep crying last night thinking about it. Just like, I can't believe that I let this all happen. Like, I threw away my entire identity for a guy, and I'll never get that person back. I can't get the time that I wasted back. It's gone. And my life could have just been so different if I would have had some more self-worth. If I had not been so ready to throw everything about myself away for the approval of a guy. Like, I really was chasing his approval all the way to my coffin, basically, and I could have easily died. And it's just crazy because all of that stuff, realistically, from day one, it scared me. Drugs, all of it scared me. All of it. Everything about my ex scared me so much once I got into that apartment with him and alone with him. I was scared, but I hated myself for being scared because I felt like I spent my whole childhood scared of everything. So to have this musician that I looked up to so much want me around, and I could see the way he looked at me when I expressed those fears, and I just knew there was no safe place for those fears. There was no place for them at all if I was going to be with him. So I just swallowed them all down and went 200 miles per hour in the other direction, trying to prove that I'm not scared. And everything just began to pile on top of each other, of me just swallowing another thing and another thing and another thing to try to bury that fear. And a new thing would happen every day that was scarier. Stars scratching. And a new thing would happen every day that was scarier than the day before. And I was just caught having to just cram everything down on top of each other. All of those fears. And then it got to the point where I was on heroin, and it's just crazy. All of that was just because I was afraid to be afraid. I wanted to be tough, and it went that far. It's just crazy how tiny little things like that, little insecurities that start when you're a kid, can go all the way to something like this. It's just crazy. I didn't think I was gonna cry at anything else in this video, but last night that just hit me really hard. That like my whole life could have been different. But I am alive and I'm never going back to that place. I'm learning who I am now. I can't be the person I was before all of this ever again. Plenty of characteristics that I hated about myself then that I now see as something good. I could still incorporate that into my life now. I just want to make the most of my life now. I don't know where my life's gonna go now. I don't. I do know that I'm enjoying things again. I'm rediscovering my passions. I'm discovering new passions. Trying to work around the fear that stops me from doing things that I love and learning to push past my fears in those ways. Because obviously I've proven to myself that I can do anything, even if I learned it in the worst way possible. So if I could just take those attributes and use them in good ways instead of bad, maybe I can pursue everything that I want to. I didn't mean for this to get emotional, but yeah. If you feel like you have to change yourself for somebody, don't. I never thought when I started making little adjustments to better fit in his life, I never thought it would lead to this, ever. It all built on top of each other over a year where I just kept making more and more sacrifices and killing off more and more parts of myself, all stemming from this one feeling of trying to not be scared. And the feeling of inadequacy and wanting to feel good enough and doing whatever I could to prove to myself that I could get through this. Don't sacrifice parts of yourself for anyone. You never know how far it'll go once you start. Anyway, thank you for watching this really long video. We're gonna get back into normal videos after this, but I really appreciate you watching, and yeah, embrace who you are. Even the things that you think are your flaws, embrace them. As long as you're kind and you're doing your best to not hurt anyone else, just be authentically you. You can't be someone else, so don't try to be, because you never know where it'll go. Alright, I'm gonna go finish editing this because this has taken so long to edit. Okay, bye.